Hey everybody, back for a second round. This one is going to be the advanced in-meeting settings that you're going to be able to set up for yourself as a facilitator for these meetings. So some of the stuff is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Some of the stuff you'll definitely want to use or really want to consider using, and other things, depending on your organization, you may just look at and go, yeah, there's absolutely no reason for me to ever use that. So run quickly through the different settings. First and foremost, you've got at the top here something called Breakout Room, which I absolutely think is just fantastic. All right, so Breakout Room, what this does is this allows you to take your meeting. Let's say you've got a meeting of 15, 20 people, but you have some sort of small group assignment that you want to allow people to collaborate on. Well, in a time or in a setting where everything is virtual, small group breakouts where people aren't co-located together is exceptionally difficult. So Zoom came up with something called the Breakout Room, which allows you to literally create 50 sub-meetings or 50 separate smaller rooms when you are running your meetings. So from the actual Zoom meeting app, you can break groups up into smaller groups, put them in their own separate room, allow them to collaborate together, and then at the push of a button, bring them all back into the same exact meeting room, and then debrief or discuss what they talked about in their small groups, which is kind of fun, kind of really innovative when you think about being able to take collaboration in a virtual scene much further, rather than having everybody try and talk over each other or only allowing one group to go at a time. So this is what breakout rooms are. So if that's something that interests you, this button right here is definitely what you want to push, and you want to turn that on. You can also set it up so that if you send out meeting invitations, you can assign people to specific groups when you schedule them. You have to have the most current version of Zoom to be able to do that, which most of you will, but it allows you to group people into specific sections. So if you've got maybe a 5-day long class or a 3-week long session that you're going to plan on doing, and you want to break people into smaller breakout groups and then bring them back periodically to discuss their work, you can actually click this button right here, and you can assign the participants to their specific breakout groups when you bring them in together. Remote support is something that you would allow for you to essentially do a one-on-one support piece with another participant and work with them individually. Closed captioning obviously is what exactly you're used to closed captioning being, and then you can also allow it to be saved captions. So if you're going to do something where maybe you want a transcript of the full session, everything that everybody said or everything that you said, you can turn on the save captions piece and it will pull it down. If you are somebody who doesn't use good enunciation, that might be something that is not going to be very helpful for you, because it won't actually save what you said. It'll save some version of what it thought you said. So it is AI generated, so nothing's perfect. Far end camera control, highly recommend turning this off, because what this does is this allows other people to turn your camera on and off during a meeting, which is obviously going to be the opposite of good. Group HD video, make sure that the video that comes in is actually much clearer, but it sucks a lot of bandwidth. So if you're not on a high-speed connection, turning that off might actually improve the experience for everyone that's joining. Virtual background is something pretty cool. It allows you to upload an image to Zoom and then use that as a background. So instead of seeing my office behind me, you would see maybe a banner or a picture of a beach or something along those lines. So there's different restrictions that go with it, but again, if you allow virtual background uploads, then you can't control necessarily what they put on there. So that's something that you have to make a decision. Am I working with a group of professional type people, or am I going to be dealing with people who won't be able to act like a normal person and do things on a non-jokester level? Identify guest participants in the meeting or webinar. If this is something where you're working in a group consistently, maybe all of your teachers get together and periodically jump into a faculty and you're all running under the same host account, then anybody that's not a member of that host account would actually have the word guest beside their name. They don't ever see it, only you ever get to see it. But if you're not let me put it this way, as a teacher, it's very unlikely that you're going to provide students the Zoom meeting application license to be a part of your group, quote unquote. So having that turned on is literally just going to put guest beside everybody's name, and you knew that already anyway. Auto answer group in chat is something that's highly unlikely that you'll ever use, but what you'll do, you can actually set up groups of people that when you send invites out to them, it auto replies and accepts so that they can come into the meeting. Again, it's not something that you're going to use if you are hosting a bunch of non-licensed attendees. Only show a default email when sending email invites basically says that you are only allowed to send invites from the email that is linked to the account, instead of using your personal or your professional email. Use HTML format for the Outlook plugin. It basically says that I'm going to have the capability of customizing and making things look a little bit pretty rather than plain text. Not necessary to turn on. It's just something that's nice if you want a good view for people. Allow users to select stereo audio, and then the one underneath that is original audio. This allows them to switch back and forth between higher quality audio and lower quality audio. It's up to you. If you want to turn that on, I'm all about the user experience and trying to make the virtual experience as comfortable as possible for people. So turning both of those on allows people to select the audio that they get. Attention tracking is another very good one for people who are going to be doing facilitator sessions and things like that. So you can actually see an indicator on the participant's screen that shows whether they have your screen share on the screen. In other words, are they ignoring you or are they paying attention to your slides? It's up to you if you want to turn something like that on for a teacher setting and you want to make sure people are paying attention. Maybe you do turn that on, but I always turn it off because if you don't want to listen, if you're going to listen to me and not watch me, I'm perfectly okay with that too, as long as you're getting the information. Waiting room. This goes back to our basic settings where we talked about allowing people to join or not join prior to the meeting. You can actually turn this on and people can go into a waiting room, and then when you push a button to start the meeting, they will pull from the waiting room and then end up in your main meeting room. If you do a waiting room, it'll automatically turn off the enable join before host thing because it's got to have somewhere to put them, so it just turns that feature off. So just remember that when we're thinking about the basic and advanced settings and what they can do to each other. Allow live streaming meetings is going to be something where you can you push the Zoom app and then just stream to a live video feed somewhere rather than calling a scheduled meeting or an impromptu meeting through the Zoom application. For the email notifications, depending on what you want, automatically all of them except for the bottom one here is turned on by default, where you'll basically get a meeting or an email notification for almost anything that Zoom does. But if you don't want a bunch of emails flooding your inbox, turn all those off, which is why you see I've turned them all off. So blurring snapshot on iOS task switcher. So what this does is this says if your snapshot display is in the front, if you're using multiple apps, it'll actually blur anything that might be sensitive or personal information that you turn on. Email invitation, setting a default language for your email invitation, and then scheduling privileges is one of those things where it says I'm going to allow other people to schedule for me, or people are allowing me to schedule for them. So if you're scheduling for groups, or maybe you have a single scheduler in the organization who's putting all these meetings together to simplify things so that the instructor doesn't have to send them all out, then you can enable scheduling privileges for certain people. You just click this plus sign, and when you click the plus sign, it'll allow you to put accounts that are associated with your main account. It'll allow you to determine which one of those people are allowed to schedule for you. And then on one last feature, it's not on the same in the settings piece. It's actually over in the profile piece, and it is down here at the bottom. This is a very handy tool right here. This sign me out from all devices. So if your computer is potentially compromised, or if you think that you left it signed in on another computer, and maybe your kids are on it or something else, you can actually click this button and it'll sign you out from every device that's currently signed in, so that nobody can use your Zoom account except for you when you go back in and put all your login information in. So it's a handy feature, but obviously not a necessary one. So that's your advanced settings. When we come back, we're gonna work together in the Zoom application. We'll probably cover most of the basic functionality of how to share the screen, how to get things set up so that you can teach in a very simplistic and fundamental way, and then we'll show you some other things that will enable you to kind of take your training to the next level, if you will. So come back, join me on that next one. I look forward to seeing you all here when you come.